All right. Hey, you guys, let's just be real for a second. We all have bills to pay. Hey, Gen Zers, welcome to adulting. Some of us got families to take care of. And like Jay-Z said back in the day, we got 99 problems and money may be one of them. But sometimes we walk into these performance reviews and ask for a raise, but are we even really asking for money? Sometimes we are asking to be seen, to be valued, and some of us are asking for balance back into our lives. And that is how Lighting the Torch chat is going to happen today. We're going to be talking about that paycheck that's filling your wallet, but is it really filling you up? All right, let's get into this. My name is Candace Miles, but I go by Coach C, and I help women like you, sis, the one who just stepped into leadership for the very first time, close the gap between who they are and how they show up at work. I give them the tools to shift from just doing the work, but actually confidently leading the work without losing their voice, their values, or their authenticity. My lane, I'm basically just your GPS, girl. I am just your GPS to help you stop shrinking, stand tall, but most importantly, walk into those rooms like you own it. But I just don't represent that. I represent the millennials. Y'all know before. Go ahead and put that peace sign into the chat. But I'm not just here by myself. With Lighting the Torch, we light the torch from generation to generation. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it over to my lovely, beautiful. She got her swoop today. Co-host Cynthia on the East Coast. How you doing, girl?
Yes, I'm stepping into my auntie era with my Gen X look. Yes, good. Good evening to most. Yes, my name is Cynthia Haley, and I go by Tip Energy Coach, and that stands for Transition to Infinite Possibilities, where I actually help corporate professionals elevate their energy so they can elevate their careers. And that is by way of interview coaching, navigating careers, and also helping leaders become better leaders for their associates. So let's dive into this. I don't even want to drag it out. We have an amazing topic that I know will resonate for everyone. Oh, but before I do, I did say I'm Gen X, right? I did say that, right?
But that's about right, though. You right on cue.
I am right on cue. Oh yeah. I got my auntie mode and I'm forgetting stuff. So yes, I I represent Gen X and I do it justice. So let's get on into the topic for today. And that is, when you ask for a raise, are you really asking for more or are you asking for something different? And we are going to talk about what that something different might actually look like. And so I'm going to start with you quoted Jay-Z, and I'm going to quote Olivia Pope, where in Scandal, Olivia Pope would always ask, "What do you want?" So I'm going to ask you, when you reflect on this question, when you go in that performance review or whether it's a one-on-one with your leader, how are you answering that question? What do you want? On the surface, we talk about money, but is it really money? And so, when I think about, I'll give an example from my experience, and then Candace, I definitely will lean in on you a little bit to share your experience on this. But I can remember at a point in time in my career when I did elevate myself a little bit to shift from just it's time for a promotion or it's time for a raise, right? When really, in fact, it was time for a career transition. And so I was on this trajectory with leading teams in either operations or service, and knowing that my passion was really around development and seeing associates excel and making sure leaders understood their purpose in the employee experience world. And so my conversation started to shift with my leader from asking for more and actually getting specific in what I wanted to do in my role. And fast forward, that landed me in a role that catapulted my career from just operations to human resources. And so I share that story to hopefully get someone else out there thinking, am I really asking for the right thing? Am I asking just for more money? or should I be considering what is it that I really want? So, Candace, I'll pass the torch to you. How has this positive experience been for you, or something you might be able to, relate on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said about, even though we say money, I feel like money is just a default ask. It's safe, it's
Mhm.
measurable, it's universal. Everybody understand what dollars, especially
Right.
the amount of the dollars are. Um, but for me, sometimes people may say money, and essentially they may really want to be like, hey, notice me, hey,
Mhm.
stretch me, respect me, whatever it is. I remember one of my friends, well, I always use friends, that's a whole different other subject. I always use friends when they really associates sometimes, but I remember them talking about this job and that they had this boss and how it was just so challenging. And about a year
Mhm.
into them being into the role, they finally decided that they wanted to leave, and instantly their boss was like, hey, I'll give you an additional 10K. That didn't really do anything because it wasn't necessarily the money. It
Mhm.
was the gap in the growth. um for her, it was more about growth, and there was a gap right there, but also too, it was also the culture, because sometimes that
Mhm.
toxic, work culture is there, and the fact that it took like a year for her to even get the strength up to even say, hey, I'm going to leave, and then they throw money out there, and that just lets you know, like, sometimes it's not just about the money.
Right. Right. And I think leaders need to have that listening ear for
Mm-hmm.
what's actually being asked for also. So I say employees, yes, you own really understanding what it is that you want, but as a leader, you have to build the muscle to get beneath the surface and understand, ask some probing questions or really
Mm-hmm.
get to know what it is that your employee is looking to do in their career. That comes with developmental coaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? Getting beneath the surface because, like you said, they wave money, but really all she wanted was
That's
opportunity to
it.
grow and do something different, to develop, get a stretch opportunity. And sometimes what I've seen is it's not even about the money, but it's about recognition, you know,
That.
acknowledging their contribution to that organization and feeling that recognition, right? And so I think it's a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
Employees, you have a role to know what you want, and leaders have a role to really ask those probing questions, serve as a coach, a developmental coach for your employees, and get to the root of what's really going to keep them on as a top performer.
Yeah, why was I about to do this when you was talking?
Oh, did
Because
she
you said,
just go full? That wasn't even millennial. That was
no, look,
the
I've been doing,
Gen
look, I
Z.
learned that from my Gen Zers. They be like, okay, when I do something. But I said that because I wanted to do that because you hit it right on the head as I am entering back into this temporary role as I'm growing my business. A part of it was the reviews and get it in there. I said, hey, this is a space for us to be intentional. We
Mhm.
don't normally we're normally not able to do that. Asking them those probing questions got deeper with a lot of them, where some of it had real conversation, like it had a true authentic conversation, especially with these Gen Zers, because I noticed that they don't really know, but who did at their age? The
Right.
ones that are, that are on the later end of it, the later part of it. But I say to say that those probing questions are so needed. And if you don't know, especially if you are in leadership and this is your first time in it, use AI and ask, hey, what are some great probing questions for me to ask my employee who's been here XYZ months, who's been in this role XYZ months, to pull out of them, because sometimes they don't even know.
Right. I think you hit on another point from a leadership perspective of you just said pull it out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is also not a leader's role to tell someone what they
That
want,
part.
right?
That part.
Because as they say, The answers lie within. And I am a firm believer that you know what you want. You might just need a little nudge. You might just need someone to pull it out of you. You might just need someone to actually believe in you, believe that you could do the thing, right? So let's pivot a little bit here and define that something different that we put in the title of this. And as we're saying, it goes beyond money. We hit on recognition. I shared the example of, a career change, but there are other things. There's opportunity, there's visibility, right? Sometimes you may have an employee who just wants exposure, who wants to sit in the room with you when you're in that leadership team meeting. So in my mind, what I've seen over the years is the leader has to get out of the way a little bit, right? Bring down that wall of titles and allow the employee the opportunity to sit at the table, to hear the conversation, to understand how to navigate these challenges, and then give them the chance to speak up, to be included in the conversation. That in itself will go a long way. But what are some other things that come to mind for you in that something different?
Outside of you saying visibility, that was definitely one that came to my mind. Sometimes it's a career pivot. You need a whole entire new lane for you to go into, where what you're doing, I literally had this conversation with someone when I was like, listen, this job is not for you. And I didn't say it like that. However, I said it in a sense, so being transparent and being honest about where they're at sometimes is that push that they need for them to go and explore. It's giving them the opportunity for them to release and give them permission to step outside of where they're at, to step outside of being loyal to the title, being loyal to the boss, or even being loyal to the company that no longer serves them. Because literally they said that there's been leadership changes, that this has happened, that's happened. I'm like, well, yeah. I said, we have a whole new senior leadership of this division. The vision is going to change. And sometimes it don't align with your values. And so that goes to the other part, is alignment. Does it fit your values? Is there a balance? Is it purpose-driven work? I know a lot of the Gen Zs, they want to know the purpose behind what they're doing. So does it align? So that's something else that I thought about when it comes to defining something different. But I also too want to ask you from a generation standpoint, how different generations define more. What is more to you?
I think for my generation, it is opportunity to be trusted to do more, right? So those stretch assignments, because sometimes there's this stigma that you're too old to learn something different and something new, right? And it's, I don't know if they're going to grasp this new technology, or they've been here so long, I don't know if they're going to adapt to change. That's what it is, right? And so I feel like for my generation, it's one, trust. I want you to trust me that I can do more, so that I am in a position to receive more. Whether that more is more money, whether that more is a promotion, whether that more is a career change, but I need you to trust me enough so that I am better positioned for that something different. So it runs deep, that, a lot of companies right now too are touching on skills and upskilling, right? Where it's not so much being status quo in your role, but as we talk about AI, that the environment, the landscape is shifting. So your more might be certification. Your more might be going back to school. Your more might be taking a class or joining another focus group, or being paired up with someone who can teach you something different, right? Yeah. And so if you are in a space and you see the writing on the wall where AI or some other form of technology is starting to take over, it's like, how do I reposition myself? Because let's be honest, with my generation, I got at least another 5 to 8 years or so, in this thing. So what is that going to look like? And how do I stay marketable
Yeah.
as the landscape is evolving? So you're something different could literally just be skills. And so
Yeah.
to leaders, what I have challenged leaders to do is stay abreast of how the landscape is changing so that you can be an effective leader and identify what those skills are and how that employee can obtain those skills, right? Because they can always tell you, you're not analytical enough or you're not strategic enough. Well, what does that look like? If I need to get to the next level, and I'm looking to you as my leader to help coach and develop me, and you're telling me to do that, I need to be more strategic. How? What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's easy to tell you to do something and tell you what you're missing, but it's harder to answer the how.
Yeah.
And so my challenge to leaders that are listening is to strengthen your leadership skill set so that you can be a better leader for your associates and employees by answering the how.
Yeah. 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 And even to inserting that question that I just asked you, what is
Mhm.
your definition of more? Because that is a word that will constantly come up as you're doing reviews. Is I want more, oh, I do this, I do that, I should get more, whatever
Mhm.
more is. Because with Gen Z, what I've seen is that they want more balance and flexibility to their schedules.
That's true.
If they have a lifestyle, they know they have life outside of work. And if work is going to interfere versus vice versa, how it used to be, they're like,
Yeah.
no, I want more flexibility. And so I feel like for my generation, it's both. We
Mhm.
lean in on a little bit of both. We want the mentorship. We want to, because we know that we are now in this position to be taking on the reign from the Gen X, that we are the ones in the leadership role. We're the ones making this, like, we feel like, oh, we just need a little bit more mentorship. Seeking that is more to me, like that helps. To mentorship is something that helps navigate through these detours that necessarily don't have to go through because somebody else has done it, while keeping an open mind. Because
Mhm.
mentorship also doesn't mean going someone older. It may be somebody a few years that's past you in the same field that you're in or the same career that you're in. So I would say that to employees, like, you have to define exactly what your more is and be able to articulate that to your boss and let them know, because clarity, it reduces whatever frustration that you'll be having.
Right. Yeah, I love that. It's funny, as you were talking about the generation wanting the mentorship, right? I was literally having this conversation recently with a fellow Gen X. And the conversation was, I've done the mentorship. I need sponsorship, right? And you think about it, if you're 25 years into your career like me, that's 25 years of, at some point, having mentors, different levels of mentors, right? And so it's like, I've done it. And I'm not saying this to say you don't need a mentor at this age. What I'm saying is the mindset starts to shift a little, like, I really could find value in sponsorship. And so
Correct.
how do I shift from this person as my mentor to seeking someone as a sponsor?
Yeah.
And who was I listening to today? Tashonda Brown, TIAA, right? I think it was Tashonda who said this, which is you basically need to call it out, right? Like, what makes you that one, right? Like I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but when you're going to someone asking for that sponsorship, it's like, okay, why you? Who are you? What
Mm-hmm.
what's just like, what is your compelling story?
Mm-hmm.
And so what is it about you? What do you bring value? And how can I take that and be an
Mm-hmm.
advocate for you in the room? So as
I
you are
would.
thinking about, wanting more and wanting someone to advocate for you, you got to give them something to work with. What's your story? What's your compelling story that you're going to give that they can then take in the room and advocate for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to sit there and say for those who don't know what sponsorship is, because a lot of times people get the lingo and they're like, "Oh, what is this?" Some people have
It's
never heard
true.
of it. It's literally someone who can advocate for you in rooms that you're not in, on projects that you don't even that you're not even aware of because they've seen your work or they know that you have potential. But
Mhm.
it's basically someone who has a title that's able to advocate you in rooms that you're not in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that has a lot of power to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you're being assessed and you don't even know it, right? Because they've
Mm-hmm.
said your name in a room. And so now others are watching to see if what they said actually holds true,
Correct.
right? So your one time ask, or maybe it's been a couple of times of asking for more, it might be happening and you don't even know it. So, I'm a little ahead of myself with our light and the torch. But one thing I will say is also trust the process, right? Continue to be an advocate for yourself, but go along this journey by advocating for yourself, putting in the work, creating that compelling story, because as I always say, you are the author of your own story, right? Make sure you can back up what it is that you're asking for. And if you can feel good about that, keep pushing. Trust the process. And at the end of the day, if it's not happening the way that you feel like you deserve, then maybe it is time to look elsewhere. We did an episode, was it in August, our last episode around loyalty, right? And so if you missed that one, go to our little YouTube channel and check it out. But definitely there's that loyalty that could be a blind spot for you. So I'll get off my soapbox on that. But the moral of the story here is make sure you have a story, and not just a story, but a compelling story, so that you can get that something different that you deserve.
Yeah. So in other words, a raise is not going to fix your growth gap.
Nope, not at all.
That's what it says. It's not going to fix your growth gap. You can't out earn the lack of development, and I think that kind of moves us into the last piece of it is just what path are you going to go after of. Only
Right.
you know that.
Mm-hmm.
You're the only ones that know that. And so, like I mentioned before, the mentors, you already brought up the sponsors who can open up the door for you. That's a practical strategy that you can have if you don't know where to even start. You can start by that. You can ask for more feedback
Yep.
more often throughout the year, because I feel like sometimes you think that you only have two checkpoints, which is your annual review and your mid-year review. You can actually ask for more feedback throughout the year,
And
but it's
leaders
been
should be
so
giving it also.
throughout. Correct, should be giving it. However, the ones that are giving it, understand employees, you can also ask for it. It doesn't always have to come. You don't
Absolutely.
always have to wait for your boss or your leader to give it to you. Stretch projects, we've already talked about that, but just network across, not just up. I think that's
Mhm.
one thing that a lot of people think when they think about networking is that, oh, I must always network up, find someone in a higher position. No, find someone across,
Or
because you
even
never
below.
know that too. Like, because you never know what position is out there, especially if you're new into the job, the workforce, and you don't know exactly where to go or what industry you want to get into. Network across, not just within your organization, but other different industries. There's networking events all over. I know here there's networking events all over, not just within organization. But what about you, Cynthia, when it comes to like giving them some practical steps?
Absolutely. I think but I do want to do a quick plug. I'm going off script, right? You said networking events. You want to do that 10-second plug for don't you have a networking event coming up?
I do. Hey, San Diego. San Diego. I do have a networking event. Listen, I have a networking event coming up October 9th. It is called Sis, Did You Get the Memo? If you are not familiar with the Memo book, it is written by Minda Harts. I definitely would say women of color, whether you are women of color or you are not, this is a great read for you to have. However, they did come out with a short film of that book that we are going to be watching. And we are going to be networking, doing it non-traditionally than you just sitting here feeling things like, oh, what do you do? Well, I do this. Oh, I have this. No, we are really going to get into the nitty gritty when it comes to truly developing those networking, those connecting those networks across the industry. So if you're in San Diego, tickets, we'll actually put it in the link.
Yeah, just drop it in the chat.
We'll just drop it in the chat. We'll drop it in the chat for y'all. Okay.
The main thing is October 9th, and that is an opportunity. So if you are in the San Diego area and you're looking for something different, it might be in this room. But I will also, going back to, how to get it, the path to getting that something more is interviewing. Right. And that is one of the pillars within my coaching business, is helping people navigate that interview space, but also focusing on the energy they bring into the interview. And when I think about one's energy, I think about the blockers, right? It's afraid, that fear of the unknown, of even just interviewing for a role that's going to answer that something different. Right. And so you've been asking for this, you've been asking for that, but sometimes it's stepping out of your comfort zone and applying for a role that's available within your organization. Maybe it's even within your department, and getting uncomfortable so that you can interview for that and be ready for that type of interview. So being mindful of the fear that might be setting in, being mindful of the waiting period, because you're waiting on someone to hand you that something different. That something different might be in your face and you actually have to go interview for it. So don't have a closed mindset to where you're missing out on the opportunities that are right in front of your face, and get comfortable with it sometimes being a lateral role. Because sometimes you have to go across in order to go up, right? So don't miss out on those opportunities, because those are important.
Cynthia, say that again to the Gen Zers in the back of the room.
Oh, the microwave generation that want that promotion in like 10 months. Yeah. Okay, so repeat. Sometimes you may need to take a lateral position. And what is lateral? Lateral means maybe it's the same title, maybe it's the same pay, but going across in order to go up. Okay. And that is okay, because you're building muscle, you're building skill, you are building your network. I've done it a few times in my career and I have zero regrets in going lateral. But I know we're getting close to time, Candace. And with every episode or every fireside chat, we love to light each other's torch and light the torch of others in the generation. Is she fanning y'all?
I am. I was like, where's my fan?
We're not going to have that conversation. But just had to call it out. But let's get to it. Let's light each other's torch here. I'll kick us off and you close us out. So when I thought about our topic and was preparing for today's fireside chat, this is what came for me. The raise might change your paycheck, but naming your something different can change your career. So I'll leave you with that.
I'm representing the Gen Z. I'm the what is it? They call it the mix between millennial and Gen Z. I'm that.
A hybrid edition.
Hybrid. I love that. I love that. I will close us out with saying, and I feel like I'm channeling my Sarah Jakes Roberts. I want to say it how I wrote it.
Go for
it. At the end of the day, money pays the bills, but it doesn't always buy you balance, recognition, or fulfillment. Don't just ask for the raise, ask for growth, the respect, and the alignment that actually fuel your journey. Because the real raise is when your paycheck and your purpose finally are riding side by side.
Absolutely.
That's all I got.
I love it. Well, we thank you all for joining in. We thank you for engaging, and we hope that you come back and even check out our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, and catch up on other episodes or fireside chats that we've done in the past. And we'll see you next month. Have a good night.
All right. Bye, y'all.